You know, sometimes when we're in the very middle of life and the daily and the walking and the, oh my goodness, I have to get done, so many things that have to happen, and it just feels almost suffocating or overwhelming, and how in the world? In those times, it's good, I think, to go back to the beginning. And that's what I want to look at today, is literally in the beginning. I look at my life and where I am right now in it, and I see that so much of the stress or situational discomfort, or whatever you want to call this, it's caused by my misunderstanding of a gift that God has given us, and that gift is time. And that misunderstanding is, in my thinking, there's not enough. I don't have enough time to get this done. I don't have enough time to make this happen. And it's always based around, or seems to be based around, this scarcity or poverty mindset, which penetrates right through to time. And that, for me, just is so eye-opening. So when I say I want to go back to the beginning with being in the middle and the crux, what is that word? Crux? I don't know. Fill in a word there. I can't think of the right word. But in the middle of basically life. And I know a lot of people are doing the back to school thing, and people are moving and changing jobs, and stuff is happening, and it all just seems like a lot. And I think it's just that moment for me that says, just stop and pay attention, and let's look at one of the issues that you're dealing here with. And that issue is a misconception or a misunderstanding of time. In Genesis 1:3, God says, "Let there be light." And there was. And then he said, "Let the light separate the darkness." And the light was called day, and the darkness was called night. That wasn't the sun, that was just light, which does not really make sense to me on many levels. Theoretically, if we have an overcast day and you can't see the sun, well, we already know the sun is still there, but we can't see it. So there's still light, but there's no sun. But that's not what this was in Genesis 1:3. And then in Genesis 1:14, God created the sun and the moon and the stars, and actually created time as we know it. And he said, these are the marks in the sky, and I'm paraphrasing big time here. These are the marks in the sky so that you will know when to celebrate the festivals, and basically when the seasons are, and things like that. And I could go on and on and on about this one little word, light, but I'm going to work really hard to stay focused here, and we're just going to talk about time. God created time for us. He doesn't need it. He works outside of time. He literally, it's part of the creation. And there's a really funny scene in a movie called IQ. It's a cute movie. It's got Walter Matthau and Meg Ryan and a couple of people that I can't remember their name. But in the movie, there's a college student that has volunteered for a research project. And the project is, he's stuck in a room with no concept of time. They don't give him a watch. There's no clock. He has no idea what time it is. And it is driving him nuts to not know what time it is. And it's funny to me to think how dependent we become on time. And that dependence on time is almost like we're more dependent on the time frame than we are God's frame. Joel 2:25 says that God gives back the years the locusts ate. Well, that measurement is the years the locusts ate. God gives back the time. He literally gives back the time that we feel and that looks like has been lost. And then in Joshua 10:13, God made the sun stand still. So, God as the creator gets to decide to bend and ignore his own universal laws that sort of guide and rule the creation that he made. God set universal laws in place like gravity and time for our benefit. So we would have structure and order and not chaos and craziness, which would be a little difficult. And at the same time, as believers, we are seated with Christ in the kingdom right now. We have the mind of Christ because we are believers, because we've accepted him as our Lord. So how do the laws of the universe come into play if we also live in a kingdom simultaneously that does not abide by these laws? This is something that's very interesting to me, because once we become believers, we are alive to Christ and dead to sin. That means we're alive forever. Yes, we live under the universal law of time right now, but we do not have to participate in the constraints and think in this limited mindset of, I only have so much time and life is too short and I'm running out of time and I have to manage my time and I'm wasting time. We do not need to look at time in that perspective. And that sounds almost like poverty or scarcity mindset again, because we value time and we value money. We place great value on both of these, and we talk about them the same. Like we waste money and we waste time. We save money and we save time. We manage money and we manage time. And yet, both of these are only created for us, not with us, if I could say it that way. And to realize that we don't have to live under that scarcity, poverty mindset of time and money. Okay, so here's the truth. Money and time only have the measure of value that we place on them. You know how the dollar index, I guess it's an index, I'm not sure, I don't remember, but you know how the dollar value goes up and down all the time depending on what's going on in the world and in the country? Well, time is a measure also, and it's this gift that we have been given as a believer, and the gift is that we have limitless time. God is going to accomplish his purposes with us in the amount of time on earth that he's given us. So we don't have to stress about this, I don't have enough time. We can actually almost live outside of time, because what the most important thing is not the time. That's not what we put the value on. We put the value as believers on relationship with Christ and relationship with others. And when I get to the end of my day, and I've had this long list of things I needed, quote unquote, to get done, if I check them all off or I didn't check them all off, and maybe it appears that I've been very productive with all the things I needed to do, were all of the things I needed to do things that the kingdom is looking at as accomplishments? Are they time related? Are they money related? Or is it based on a value system aligned with God? In reality, it's all up to God. He has the watch, so to speak. And it doesn't really matter what I think the time is. The only thing that matters is that I live within his time and know the creation, which would be the time, is not what I'm going to worship. It's the Creator I'm going to worship and pay attention to and have relationship with, not the stresses of time.